All right, welcome everyone. My name is Zach Hubbard. I'm a financial advisor and one of your participant advisors here with Greenspring Advisors. Today I'm joined by Stephanie Ahlstrom and Andres Mazabel from Trust and Will, a new affinity partner that we're adding to Clarity at Work. And I'm really excited to add them. And they offer estate planning for you on our Clarity at Work platform. And what they're going to do now is they're going to take you through just a quick overview of their services, talk to you a little bit about why estate planning is so important. And I'm going to take it back from them, show you how to access it on our website, where you can go to find it, and talk a little bit about the discount there. So Andres, take it away.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Zach, for having us. I will be kind of going over Trust and Will, the platform that we have in place. And really we get questions every single day about estate planning. So our hope is that we do kind of a quick introduction of why is estate planning so important? And then the two most common questions around what type of estate planning should I be looking into? And I'm thrilled to be joined by Stephanie Ahlstrom. She is an attorney licensed here in California. And Stephanie, quick intro from your end, and we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, good morning. I'm excited to be here. Like you said, I'm a licensed attorney here in California. I specialize in estate planning and trust admin and probate. I've been with Trust and Will, how long have I? Over a year now. And I've seen kind of the induction of the program and then as it's moved forward. So I'm really excited to kind of present this product.
Stephanie, this is typically the biggest thing that we always try and find out is why estate planning, both from someone that's maybe just starting off, getting married, having their first child, buying their first home. As an attorney, what are the main things that you talk about every single day about the importance of the why?
Yeah, so the why, I kind of break it down into two things. Is your financial concerns. Your biggest thing with estate planning is you want to avoid probate. And what probate is just the judicial process that your stuff has to go through if you die with no direction, no will, no trust, just kind of nothing in place, right? We have to determine who gets your stuff, how they get it, when it goes, and it requires a judicial process. It's expensive, like I said, it's timely. So having an estate plan or a will or a trust all kind of fall into the same estate planning category, kind of take you out of that probate process and let you be the determining factor in what happens to your stuff, when, who gets it, versus some party you don't know. So that kind of takes care of the stuff. And then on the back end, when you talk about younger families or people that are just, starting out, having their kids, nobody wants to think about what happens in the event that they're not there to raise their children. Unfortunately, it can be a reality. And at least for me, it was very important. You want to know who's going to raise your kids, right? In the unfortunate event, something were to happen to you and your spouse, if you have an estate plan in place, you can actually put in a guardianship for your minor children, which says who you want to raise your children, versus a judge who's never met anybody in your family, doesn't know any of the dynamics between the relationships of people in your family, is going to be choosing. So those are kind of the two main things that I talk about. You want to take care of your stuff and you want to take care of your people in the best way possible.
Yeah, I don't know if you got a chance, but just last week we published the biggest study ever done in estate planning for millennials. And over 73% of millennials, over 20,000 people that we surveyed, it was around children. It was like, hey, once you have your first kid, you're like, my life isn't just about me. Like, I am responsible for like raising someone else. So really, really important in terms of having that guardianship in place. And then what else outside of that, Stephanie, do you think when it comes to like, if you're in the later stages of life, asset transfer, being able to, for example, say, hey, I built my net worth and these are some very passionate nonprofits that I stand behind. What are some other things that you also see when it comes to the why of estate planning in that stage of life as well?
Absolutely. When you're talking about a little kind of past the wealth accumulation stage, for more kind of the older clients, you do have one, you want to control, still the same factor, right? Is running the same vein runs through all of it, is that you want to control who gets your stuff and when they get it, right? It's, you've earned it. You might as well give it to whomever you choose, including if you want it to go to a nonprofit, you absolutely can do that. There are some tax sheltering protections that we can kind of build into your estate plan if needed. From an older perspective, that might be where if you don't want it just to go to your kids, right, all of it to go to your kids, but you do want a piece of it to go to whatever your favorite nonprofit is, you hope your son is going to do it when you told him to. It might not. If you have the estate plan in place, it's going to go ahead and wrap up that concern. It'll take care of it. The nonprofit's going to get that money, assuming it's done correctly. And on the back end for elder concerns is that we don't live forever, unfortunately, and you really should be planning for some sort of incapacitation, or when you're unable to speak up for yourself, you want to know that your family and your loved ones know what you want. So when you can't use your voice, you've already told them, so to speak. So incapacity planning is a really important part. That healthcare directive, that HIPAA release, those are all really important documents to have in place before you unfortunately get to that stage of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And even outside that stage in life, I mean, if anything, if we learn anything from last year and the pandemic, it's always have those documents in place to essentially be prepared.
Yeah, you never know.
Great, Stephanie, thank you. So let's dive in a little bit into, so when it comes to estate planning, there's typically the will-based type of estate plan
Mhm.
or the trust-based type of estate plan.
Mhm.
Let's dive into a will. What is a will? What does it do from a very high level overview, Stephanie?
Yeah, so just a basic idea of what a will is. It is a legal document. It will govern where your stuff goes, but think of it more as a blanket. It treats all of your assets, all of them, the exact same, right? There's no specification. There's no kind of continued control within the document. It's a one-time, here's what happens, one and done sort of thing. It is also a public document. So because it will still go through the court system, there is not the privacy right that you have with a trust. But a will is, it's better than nothing. It's not a terrible document. It's where some people start. But it is a very kind of basic document. It is, again, one treatment for all the assets, one distribution plan, and that's it.
Yeah. So think of it as maybe as like as your foundational starting point, and then you can always graduate into a trust as you buy your first home or you inherited money, whatever the case might be. Perfect. And then you talked a little bit about probate. So essentially, talk to us about if you do have a will, you're still going through probate, but what's the big benefit of having a will versus if you pass and you don't have a will and then your assets are going through probate then?
Yeah, so if you have a will, so probate is just basic, right? It's all your assets are going to get clumped together. A judge is going to look at your estate, and the judge will determine what happens. He'll follow those laws. He'll assign your estate to those people as he sees fit and is kind of mapped out in the probate code. Versus a will, a judge will be involved in just kind of making sure the will is valid, right? We don't want any duress, we don't want any fraud, but assuming that it's a validly executed will, whatever that document says is what the judge is going to do. So you still have control. They're just kind of making sure the document is properly executed.
Perfect. And then as an executor, do you mind just briefly educating what's the role of an executor within a will?
An executor is kind of like the CEO of your life, right? So they're going to go through and they're going to establish what debts you may have had, what credit, if you have any credits coming your way, they're going to kind of clean up your estate. And then once all of that is done, so they're going to pay any taxes you owe, they're going to pay any debts, they're going to pay for any sort of final wishes you had, your funeral services, anything like that, any taxes associated with the estate, and then they will make the distributions. So they're kind of the final, I guess CEO is the best way to put it. They're kind of the wrap up in charge person.
Great. Perfect. And then before that, actually on the executor, because I know this is a question we get all the time. Yeah. What are some recommendations on who to pick and choose as an executor? What are some things that might be helpful for people watching this?
Absolutely. So you do want to pick, it's one, let's start with the baseline, right? It's an incredibly personal decision. Your attorney can't make that decision for you. Your financial advisor cannot make that decision for you. It's an incredibly specific to you personal decision. From just a couple of pointers, I would pick someone that has some financial background or some financial kind of experience. You may not want to give it to your 104-year-old grandma, God bless her, but she may not know exactly the in and outs of your financial plans and all your accounts. So I would do it with someone with a little bit of business savvy, a little bit of financial background. I would pick someone responsible, right? There are a lot of kind of intricacies that can happen within estate planning, and you want to make sure that they're well equipped to handle them. So I would have someone smart. I would have not a 21-year-old, no offense, 21-year-olds. I was one too, not a great option. But someone kind of, that's established, has a foundation, and has some sort of experience in kind of the more business financial world.
Yeah. And I would add to that too. I think there's many people that become overwhelmed with that decision on like, gosh, like who do I choose? You can always make changes, right? So pick someone, get started, have a plan in place, and life will always change. And that's where with our platform, we've created it so you can always make updates and changes to that. So thanks for that. Mm-hmm. The second part of an estate plan, or another option, better said, is a trust. So typically a revocable living trust is a main type of planning. Stephanie, what is a trust? What are kind of nuances behind it? And then the value behind it as well.
So I'll start at the kind of back end of your question. The value of a trust is when, again, you're determining what happens to your stuff. You're electing guardianship for your children in the event something should happen prior to them reaching the age of majority. And it is a private document. So it's not probated. It's not subject to judicial proceedings. So it is something that's kept within the confines of your own family, which is nice. Privacy is valued, right? You work really hard. You don't necessarily want everybody knowing what you did and who you're giving stuff to and all of that. As far as what it does, a trust versus a will, a trust allows a lot more specificity and a lot more customization that a will doesn't allow. So you can create different levels of distribution. So within a will, you're giving your stuff to Sally, Sally gets it when you die. And in a trust based estate plan, you can give it to Sally when she turns 25, and then another portion when she turns 30, and then another portion when she turns 35. You can do, that's just an example of the type of customization you can do within a trust. There are obviously what you can dream, we can write, right? But it allows more control for you, and it allows more protections for you. And it does allow changes. I mean, you can change a will obviously at any point as well, but a trust is kind of a baseline. Think of it more as like a box, and you're putting things in your box and taking things out of the box, but the box itself never changes. So you're not getting that blanket treatment. It's just more, in my opinion, it's a more stable option.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this I think really helps summarize what you talked about, right? Main differences between a will and a trust. As you just, summarized, the trust is going to give you more control over when and how assets are distributed. It avoids probate. It's private, so you just have a lot more control, right? And then, comparing to the will, it's still a very good foundational starting point to help in protect that you have some type of protection in place. One of the main ones is naming the guardianships for kids and pets as well. And but you do have some limited control over when and how assets are distributed. Stephanie, anything to add here? I think this kind of helps highlight, and this is one of the big question marks on like, when should I start thinking about a trust versus a will? We have this visual on our website, and we have, as a quiz that helps clients help determine that. But what are some things that you would add on here when it comes to, hey, when should I really start looking at a trust instead of a will?
What I think you should be looking at is when you have for 200K, which is fine. Once your assets reach a certain point, you are going to want to start looking at a trust versus a will to avoid that kind of probate issue, which you also have in the next square. Awesome. And I think when you want to kind of start looking more towards a trust is when you want more specificity. You don't want to have to revoke your will and change it every time in its entirety versus a trust. You can have a revocable living trust. You can amend it. You can make changes as you see fit. And the document continues in existence, right? It's a living document that you can change and modify. So, you have more kids, you can add them to the trust. As your life, you add another, you buy that second home, or you get that vacation cabin, or whatever it is, you just add it to your trust instead of having to modify the documents every single time. You're just continuing to accumulate, right? You're continuing to put things in the box versus that blanket. You're going to have to keep rearranging it, redo it. It's a great option for some people, but a trust is largely a better fit for the majority of people.
This is one that I really, really believe in. And especially if you're, in your early 30s, late 20s, just starting off, it's so hard for you to be like, hey, I just had my first kid, and now I want to create documents about when I die. Like, let me enjoy this part of it. But life happens, and these documents are incredibly, incredibly important for everyone to have in place. So, Stephanie, if you don't mind just highlighting the three, what it means, why they're important, would be amazing.
Absolutely, no problem. I agree with you. These are incredibly important documents. I'm in my younger 30s. I also don't want to think about when I'm dying. I got 2 kids. It is something that can happen. You need to have this stuff taken care of. But this first document does, your HIPAA authorization, is that it allows people information like access, right? So your doctor, in the same way that I have attorney-client with my clients, your doctor has a doctor-client privilege. They're not allowed to just give out your medical information to anybody that asks. They're bound by confidentiality, by privacy rules, et cetera, et cetera. So this HIPAA authorization releases to the people that you specify within the document. You get to choose them. The doctors can release your medical info to. The next document is going to go ahead and take care of who can act on your behalf in a medical capacity in the event that you can't. So you still get to put designations. You get to set little margins in there of saying, this is what I'm down for and this is what I'm not. But in the event you can't speak up for yourself, then you'll assign an agent who will be in charge of that advanced healthcare directive, and they will be able to go ahead and tell your doctor, yes, go ahead and pull the plug. or, go ahead, I authorize this treatment. I would not like to authorize this treatment at the direction of his or her wishes, as kind of voiced in that advanced healthcare directive. The very last one is kind of takes care of the financial end of it. Your advanced healthcare directive takes care of your medical portion. Your power of attorney takes care of your finances, right? It's going to be the person, again, that you assign, an agent that's going to go ahead and take care of your financial life while you're unable to do so. So they're going to have signing powers on your behalf. There's a list of specific powers that you designate to them. You can limit them as you see fit. So you are very much in charge of these documents, but they are very, very important to have in place in the event that something happens to you and you're not dead. So, if you have the will, your will is only effective when you're dead. Your trust can control kind of this gray period when you're not able to necessarily speak for yourself. And these documents are incredibly important for that kind of gray period of your treatment.
Yeah, no, this is great. I always like to highlight just some specific examples. For example, with the HIPAA, very common, for example, we have a ton of clients, they're like, my kid is off to college, they just turned 18. Just because you're their parent doesn't mean you can access their healthcare information. So being able to have that in place, really, really important. Advanced healthcare directive, if you're in a coma, it takes away a very tough decision to put on a loved one. So you're able to make some decisions ahead of time about the type of care that you want to receive. And you're taking away a very, very hard decision on someone else. And then power of attorney, man, did I see this almost weekly, if not monthly, when I was in private banking, where someone can't make a decision, they can't come to the bank, they can't reach out to the advisor. So always have it in place. You never know what's going to happen in life. And it's just so much better when you're, I think of these documents plus the full estate plan as like one of the best gifts you can leave behind, not just when you die, but if something happens to you. So if you have an accident. Yeah. Perfect. That's great. Thanks, Stephanie. This is so common. I think this, I love this. I believe many people never create an estate plan because they think it's the most complicated, expensive process they'll ever go through. So what do you actually need to get started? And I promise you, it's not as daunting as you think. Our platform we've created is kind of like a TurboTax-like model where we guide you through the process and we also offer live customer support. But at the end of the day, it's basic information. It's, who are you including in the estate plan? So names, full legal names, birthdays, and then some decisions. Then these are kind of the important decisions ahead of time. But who would you want as a guardian for your children? Who would you want as the executor or successor trustee of your estate plan? And then the decisions around assets and distributions, right? So if something's to happen, how and when would you want the assets distributed to your kids, to charity? And big thing I just want to reiterate is you can always make changes. Don't feel like because you don't have all these decisions like 100%, make some decisions that are smart, but at the end of the day, you can always come back and change it. Some of the things that you don't need, you don't need your social security numbers. You don't need your full bank account numbers or online passwords. So it's a very easy process to go through with trust and will. And even if you end up going with an attorney, as long as you get it done, that's what we really care about. But it is not as daunting of a process as what most people think. Anything else you would add on to that, Stephanie?
No, I think you did a great job there. I think a lot of people, no, you covered it. A lot of people think they need to bring in, the whole U-Haul when they want to set these papers up, and it's simply not true. Yeah. So I think you did a great job covering that. Yeah, absolutely.
And then this kind of just helps out, I think, outline the big reason why we started. There's a huge problem as to many, many people, over 60% of families that are parents that own a home don't have any plans in place. So when you look at, new parents, 90% of them are millennials, right? So they're always thinking, how can I protect my family? How can I protect my children? There's over 60 million parents with minor children. And as I mentioned, more than 60% of them don't have any plans in place. So let's kind of quickly highlight, without going into much detail, what do we offer as a company at Trust and Will? So first and foremost, we have attorney designed documents and they're live in state specific in all 50 states. So everything we do is state specific. We've tried as much as we could to simplify the estate planning process. So we offer 3 products. It's a trust-based estate plan, and it's $499 for a married couple, $399 for one person, or the will-based plan, which starts at $159 for a married couple and then $89. And then we do also offer the guardianship as a standalone product. If someone's like, hey, this is, I think, all I need. I just had my first kid and this is all I really have. Amazing. The mission of the company is to make estate planning accessible to everyone. So those are the 3 products that we have. And then what's really unique is, one, we don't charge up front. We want to make sure that you're comfortable with the platform, the process. And then 2, we offer live customer support. So if you're stuck somewhere, if you watch this video and you're like, okay, I still have many questions, it's okay. We're here to support you. And then 3, we do have a discount available for you guys as well. And Zach, you can provide that link. But other than that, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for watching and learning a little bit more about estate planning. Stephanie and I joke about this all the time, but estate planning isn't the most exciting topic to talk about, but I promise you it's one of the most important things you'll ever get done for your family.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was so great. And this is really part of the reason why we chose to partner with Trust and Will for our participants, is that, you explain it in a way that's easy to understand, and you put together a product that's really easy to use, and kind of takes away the excuse from people to start that estate planning process, right? So, I really appreciate you both being here and walking us through that. And so I'm just going to take you through very quickly how you can access Trust and Will on our website, on our Clarity at Work website. So to get to Trust and Will, you're going to find them under our financial planning tools button here on Clarity at Work. You click this button, and this is going to look a little different than it's looked in the past. Now you'll see you have a button to get to Right Capital for your financial planning. And now you have this new button here to get to Trust and Will. If you click on the Trust and Will logo, it's going to take you to the Trust and Will website to get your plan started. And you can see we're passing through a 10% discount to you by going through to our website. So because of our partnership with Trust and Will here, you're able to get a 10% discount off that estate plan that you want to go through and do. So it makes their already affordable products even more affordable. One thing I do want to highlight here is we do not have any sort of revenue sharing agreement with Trust and Will. We do not get any compensation when you go to Trust and Will to do an estate plan. It's a completely different service. It is something that you are paying Trust and Will to do. We're just providing you access to that and a discount through Clarity at Work. So there's no compensation that comes back to us for that. If you want to learn more about the Trust and Will product on Clarity at Work, you can click on this link here. It's going to take you just to a landing page where there's a quick video here that Trust and Will provided to us, along with some links to Trust and Will, as well as our Legacy Planning Resource Center, where you can find a bunch of different resources on the estate planning process. So again, if you have questions as you're going through this, or you want to talk more about whether or not an estate plan is right for you, it's right for everybody, but if you have questions about whether or not it's right for you, we can kind of talk through that with you. Just schedule one-on-one with one of our participant advisors, and we're happy to take you through this process and help you out. So again, Andre, Stephanie, I can't thank you enough for being here with me. I really appreciate you taking us through that. And we look forward to hopefully sending a lot of people your way and getting some estate plans started for folks.
Perfect. Thanks for having us, Zach, and commend you and the team. I think estate planning is an incredibly important part that not many advisors focus on, and it just provides so much peace of mind, so much value. So kudos to you and your team for making that priority.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.